Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
If you're gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Why, hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 267 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I really do appreciate you making me one of them. Just a couple of things before we get into today's episode. I do apologize if my voice sounds different. I spent yesterday in bed with no voice, hence why the podcast wasn't done yesterday. Today it's a little bit improved, although I do sound a little bit sexy husky. So hopefully I'll make it through the podcast today. But I do apologize. It really is me. I just am a little bit under the weather at the moment. So thank you for understanding that as well. Just a second thing about my podcast. I got a message last week about my podcast saying the intro music and the voice of myself, as in like the podcast episode, were quite different. One was louder than the other. I've listened on my own devices and I can't hear it. But if you're having that issue, could you please let me know? Could you send me a DM or an email and just say, yeah, Jen, that's what happens on my device? And maybe let me know where you're listening to it, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcast, or whatever, because I listen on Apple and I can't hear any difference in the sound. But if you can, I'd really like to know, because I'd really like to fix that for you if it's happening. All right. Okay, let's get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty of this episode. We are talking about 3 top marketing questions that I'm going to answer for you today. But before we do that, if you haven't seen on my socials already, I am in pre-launch of my brand new book called Small Town, Big Impact, that has 107 simple marketing strategies for regional business success. I would love you to pre-order your copy if you feel that this is a book that could really help you with your marketing in 2024. Yes, it is written for regional business success, but you know what? Marketing, no matter where you are, you'll be able to use it. You'll be able to implement the strategies. It'll just give you a little bit of a different perspective of perhaps what it's like to market a business in a regional area than what it is in a big city or something like that. Anyway, I would love you to go to my website, socialmediaandmarketing.com.au, go to the shop and buy Small Town Big Impact. I will be starting to send out copies the 1st of December, if not earlier. I believe it's going to print either today or tomorrow. So yay! Anyway, I'm a little bit excited by that. I hope you're sharing my excitement. If you are listening to this podcast, I would love you to share a screenshot of you listening and tag me on social media, because the one thing that podcasts don't give you is really great stats. So I don't actually get to know who you are unless you reach out to me and say, hey, Jen, listen to your podcast. And that always makes me feel super cool and gives me a really great idea of who my audience is. Of course, anything I mention on this podcast, you can find on the show notes at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/267. Did you have a listen to last week's episode? Last week I had Christy Robinson as my special guest, and we talked about a lot. We talked about burnout, creating businesses that services the lifestyle you want, and much, much more. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to that one, head back and listen to episode 266 after, of course, you've listened to this one. So, like I said earlier, this is a answering 3 of the top questions about marketing, but they've actually all come from my Ask Me Anything questions in my Facebook group, Like Minded Business Owners. Each week I have a post up in Like Minded Business Owners where I offer, people ask me a question. You're in my community. If you've got a burning marketing or business question, ask it. And I will either answer it or I will tag the person who's in my community that can answer it. Like there was one today about cash flow. I'm not the cash flow person, but I tagged some people and gave some resources that might be able to help them along with their cash flow. All right. So that's what we're doing today. We're answering 3 questions that I've already answered in my Facebook group, but I really wanted to share here on the podcast as well, because I think that everyone would like to know the answers to these questions. So the first question was about blogs and their use for SEO, so search engine optimization. Does Google like lots of them? And this question came from Michael. So firstly, I love that Michael is thinking about blogs and how you can use them for searchability and to help you rank when your ideal client is Google searching what it is that you do. Now, my understanding is that Google is looking for quality over quantity. So, say for instance, Michael might have had 30 blogs that he hasn't repurposed onto the back end of his website and he's thinking about uploading them. Um, I would probably recommend that he doesn't upload them all at once. So it's not necessarily going to help you be seeing quicker if all of a sudden, on Wednesday you've got no blogs and Thursday you've got 30 blogs as such. Because Google is always looking for quality over quantity as such. So you're better off, in my opinion, scheduling them to go live over a series of months on your website and then repurposing them as part of your social media and email strategy and pushing readers back to the website to read the entire blog and getting some really good Google love that way because, you're building up that trust with your audience and building up trust with Google as well. Interestingly, and not really related to this question, but I was on a webinar a few weeks ago and the question was asked, does Google punish AI written content? And the answer was no. And that might surprise some of you, but when you think about it logically, you probably won't be surprised because Google actually punishes bad content, not necessarily just AI content. And although some content written by AI is not that crash hot, there's also a lot of human content out there that's not much better. So whether it's an AI piece of software or a human that's writing your content for you, just make sure it's good content and get the Google love that way. So don't shy away from using AI for the purposes of writing content. Just make sure it's good content and make sure it's customer centric and it sounds like you, that it's branded like you, your tone of voice, how you would talk, because otherwise Google mightn't punish you, but your community might because they're like, Jen didn't write this. I can tell it doesn't even sound like her. So thinking about that, that was just a little extra to that question about Google and blogs that I thought was really interesting. The second question I wanted to share with you on the podcast today was from Emily, and I really love this one. Emily said, I schedule my social media every month for about 3 posts a week. However, I'm not really seeing an increase in engagement. Should I continue, cut back, or stop altogether? And this was my reply. First of all, I think Emily is doing a really great job scheduling 3 posts a week. My suggestion perhaps is firstly to have a look at her analytics or her insights and see really what's working and what's not working. And these days, we really do have to take into consideration that people are doing a lot of scrolling. They're not doing a lot of liking, they're not doing a lot of commenting, but it doesn't actually mean they didn't stop and read your post. They just didn't engage with the post because that's not really how we're using social media at the moment. So, I did recommend to Emily that she takes her reach into consideration when she's looking at what's working and not working. But I think also strategically have a look at the content and question whether the content is actually about you and about your offers consistently or whether you're actually showing up with value, that you are actually posting things that are customer centric, not me, but it's actually about the customer and it's value for them as well. Um, Another point that I made was maybe perhaps you need to put some social into social media. So when I say that, I'd recommend like 10 minutes 3 times a week at least, where you go into your Facebook business pages feed. So not your personal feed, your Facebook business feed and scroll down and like and comment and share other people's posts that you follow as your business. Be social on social. And if there's not many of them, if your page hasn't liked many pages, then take some time to work out, who's your ideal client, where do those people hang out, start liking their business pages, start commenting, start sharing, and really like looking for people who might one day do business with you or spend your money with you. So I call it my Hansel and Gretel strategy. It's kind of like sprinkling those breadcrumbs everywhere, sprinkling your business name everywhere, and just, getting on the social media platforms and being social on those platforms. Tracy Sheehan, the digital guide, who is a good friend of mine, she actually has a quote in my new book that's coming out. And the quote is something along the lines, if you want to be engaging, if you want I can't remember what it is now. If you wanna be engaging, be engaging. Like, if you want engagement, be engaging. Like, you can't just expect everyone else to be engaging with you if you're not out there engaging with other people. Think about the Hansel and Gretel strategy. It was a really great question, and I hope that's made you perhaps rethink your strategy on social media a little bit, that you do need to be social, and spending that time being social 3 to 4 times a week will really help you increase your engagement and your reach. And hopefully, then that will increase your inquiries and increase the amount of sales that you make through social media. Great question. My third question and the last one that I'm going to deal with today, because my voice isn't that great, so I'm going to do a short podcast, is the one that Amanda asked, which was basically around social media versus email marketing. How much time should be allocated to each strategy? Now, if you know me at all, you know how much I love this question. I absolutely am such a big advocate for email marketing. And I think if you're spending all your time on social media and spending no time list building, then not only are you leaving money on the table, but you are 100% not future proofing your business. I actually think you should be spending equal time between social media and email marketing. The number one reason why you should be on social media is to get people off social media and onto your list. That's a true fact. So to convince Amanda and maybe even yourself a little bit, I shared some stats. So the average open rate for an email across all industries is about 21%, whereas the average engagement rate for Facebook is around 0.17%. Yep. Less than 1% because most people don't have a Hansel and Gretel strategy. Most people aren't growing a community online. They are basically just waiting for everyone to find them. So engagement is super low, really far outweighed by email. Email marketing has a high conversion rate. Email marketing conversion rate is 4.29% as opposed to social media, which is 0.59%. Your return on your investment for every dollar you spend in email marketing is statistically around $42, where on social media, it's about $17 for every dollar you spend. And you know what? That's if you're good at content marketing and if you're good at writing ads. If you're not good at those two things, it's probably even lower. And according to Marketing Sherva, over 72% of consumers would rather see your promotional content via email than on social media, where they're just trying to be social with their community and they're not really looking to be sold to. So if you're spending all your time on social media and no time list building and email nurturing your community, then business must be pretty tough at the moment. Um, Amanda, thank you so much for the question. Thank you for letting me get on my high horse about email marketing yet again. My answer, of course, to the question is equal time. Spend equal time doing email marketing and doing social media marketing. And when you start to see which one is bringing in quality leads and sales, then spend more time there. And it's going to be email. Like for most generations of consumers, it's going to be email. So if I've piqued your interest at all and you're like, Jen, okay, I really need to look at this email stuff, then I've actually got my email marketing 4-week program, but it starts on Monday, the 6th of November. So you have to be super quick if you would if you would like to do that program with me. So it's 4 weeks from Mondays from the 6th of November. You can go to my website at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au, scroll down a little and you can find the link there to join. Or, of course, you can go to bit.ly/email masterclass with Jen, or of course, come here and look at the show notes. So there you have it. There are 3 Ask Me Anything questions from my Facebook group, Like-Minded Business Owners. Again, if you're not a member, come over there and join the fun. And if you have a burning questions, you might end up with your question on a podcast at some stage, but I will answer it in the group, not just wait for a podcast episode. Like I said, I have one of these Ask Me Anything posts each week, and you are welcome to ask any of your marketing or business burning questions, and I'll answer them. Like I said, it's not exclusively for the podcast, but, come to the group. Let's join in the fun. Let me help you build your business by being a member of the Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group. Before you go, just a reminder, the show notes can be found at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/267. But that's it for this episode. If you've got time to leave a rating and a review, and that's possible where you're listening, I would love to do that. Please don't leave a bad rating or a bad review just because of my awful voice today. I do apologize, but I didn't want to miss this podcast for this week just because of my voice. Be kind, be gentle with my voice. Otherwise, I will see you for episode 268, and I promise to be talking normally. But in the meantime, of course, if we're not hanging out on social, let's get social on social. You'll find me on all sorts of different platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Facebook groups, Reels. Not Reels. What is it called? Threads, not Reels. You'll find me there too. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peep, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.